Better Listen Podcast, your megaphone for electronic dance music and Berlin nightlife. What you like to hear, what you like to dance to, and what moves you. Hi and welcome. This is episode number 17 of the Better Listen podcast. My name is Liz and I am your host. I am interviewing women only this year, and it is an absolute honor to announce today's guest. It is singer and songwriter Cari Golden, who dials in from Los Angeles. Straight up from the beginning, you can hear that the 9-hour time difference is really the only distance present during our call. Cari has been working with numerous big artists, providing her voice and the lyrics for so many well-known tracks which you couldn't imagine the scene without. She talks about her very beginnings, how it all started in the electronic music genre with a visit to Fabric in London, her experiences as a vocal coach, and how she also feeds the homeless as a chef in LA. Dive into an episode full of throwback stories, laughter, and flowing energy, and hopefully inspiring you too to reach your dreams or even surpass them as she did. Let's go. Hello, Cari.
Hi, Liz. How are you?
I am good. It's such an honor to have you here. I messaged you a couple, was it months ago?
Yes, that shows you how often I check my mailboxes. Not very often. I'm sorry about that. And it's my honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It was really like hit or miss, because I reach out to a lot of producers, artists, and this year is totally and fully dedicated to women. So I reached out to a lot of women, and everybody's super busy. I mean, right now it's summertime, and I wasn't very expecting like a lot of people answering right now. And then there was you saying, let's do it. And it was so easy to find a date.
Well,
And
I'm not on tour in Ibiza and doing all that stuff because I'm not a DJ. So this is my downtime. So this is actually perfect time.
That's why. Interesting. Okay. And I've been meaning to ask you, so you are a singer, you are from Los Angeles. Are you also, do you also produce or do you remix?
I don't do any of that. I am a classic collaborator where I get tracks sent to me by producers and then I write the song over it and record, the vocal of that song and then
Ah.
submit it and they do their stuff. So yeah, I guess I took the lazy way out, but it works. It works for me.
And then when there's like a gig or something, it's usually when there's an artist inviting you to sing to the tracks or
Yes. Or there'll be a DJ that wants to just do like a whole show of my tracks and stuff. I typically actually don't sing my stuff live that much because the environment's a little too loud to hear things accurately. So I'm a little bit, I think, more of a mystery. I don't perform my own stuff very often. It's like maybe once every like 5 years or something. So,
Okay,
yeah.
interesting. Yeah, because the videos you sent me that I saw you performing there and it was
Yes.
you
Yeah,
on
yeah,
on tour. So it looked like maybe you used to do it more in the past or
Yeah, I mean, I used to be a little more prolific with the output of stuff. I've taken a little bit of a breather on doing so much, writing of music, which I think has been important just for my own creativity because now it feels like it's sparking back up again and I've started writing again. So there'll be more things coming out in the future. But my process sort of ebbs and flows and so yeah, I haven't been
interesting.
doing that as much.
Have you always dreamed of becoming a singer or was it
I've just
something
always
you
been a singer. So there was not really a dream involved. It was sort of like, I open my mouth and sing at you, and that's pretty much
What?
my friends will tell you. They'll say, like, one of my friends was like, you have musical Tourette's because I'm constantly just busting into song all the time. I'll probably do it during this interview. Who knows? We'll see.
Please do. Please do. Don't
But
hide
yeah, so
anything.
I've just been, screaming since I popped out. So
And did you always like because
the tracks you produce are more for, as far as I'm aware of, electronic music, right? So
Yes, yes.
do you
I
mainly
mean,
focus on electronic music, or did this just come with time?
well, I've gone through sort of periods of real immersion in different genres. Actually, before I started doing electronic music, I actually wrote a country album. And that's how I learned how to write songs, was actually listening to country music. And I'm pretty proud of that, even though, people are like country music. But pro tip, if you isolate some of my vocals and take the electronic music track off of it, you'll actually hear that some of them are actually country inspired. And they've,
Really?
yeah, and they've done pretty well.
That is
Um,
so interesting.
so I was doing that. I'm classically trained. I have a degree in opera. And so I'm kind of all over the place. I love to sing jazz. I sing, with a pop band here in Los Angeles.
Do you perform sometimes like then in a pub or something like that?
Yes, I actually I perform all the time. I just don't perform my own music all the time. So
Yeah.
I'm constantly on stage and performing. Yeah.
Oh,
I
wow.
do corporate stuff still.
Yeah, okay. Wow. How often do you perform? Is it every once a week, once a
It's
month?
usually around once a week, yeah, or maybe a couple times a month.
Yeah. Oh, it's so
Yeah.
cool. Amazing.
Yeah.
And how, like when you say, okay, you started initially with country music and then somehow now what you're most famous for, at least here in Europe, is your part in electronic music. How did it start with you getting into the electronic music scene?
So I found myself at Fabric in London, and that was it. It was like a hard left turn. I was like, all right, this is it. This is the new stuff. And I started going out all the time. It was in my early 30s, and um I started going out all the time and basically just accosting DJs and saying, I'm a singer, and let me sing something for you. And eventually somebody said okay. So I wrote a track for a guy named Airfun, who is a DJ producer here. And Panpot actually got a hold of it and was playing it in their sets. And when I finally met them, they asked me to do something, and that's when we did Captain My Captain. And so that's how sort of like the first success happened, was with them
Yeah,
through that. So once I decided to start, it started, it feels like it started slow, but I think that the way that I was living my life was really fast. So
hmm,
it felt like it took a long time, but probably it took maybe a year or two. And all of a sudden I had found my stride with, the genre that I wanted to do. I love techno, I love house, love deep
amazing. Yeah,
house, and,
yeah.
melodic, all that stuff. So, I kind of found my niches that I wanted to do. So yeah, that's how that started.
You mentioned Captain My Captain, and it's a track that we also want to showcase in this podcast. So we would just show just a short snippet of the track to get into Cari Golden. Is there anything you'd like to add for this track that you want to mention?
Oh gosh. I
It's
don't
been a long
I
time, no? It's an
Yeah,
oldie
it's
almost.
been really it actually has been such a long time. I mean, I went and I revisited it, listening to it to do this, and I was watching that little video snippet that I sent you, and I just think it was just wild how it went from the idea of it really came from like one little sound snippet that was in the original track that the guys sent me, that in the final they actually took out. It was like this blowhorn, that you hear sometimes
Mm-hmm.
in tracks,
Mm-hmm.
wah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that sounds like a boat thing, and I was like, oh, they do a lot of boat parties at Mobley and all this stuff. So I was like, okay, let me do something, sea inspired, and it wound up being so much trippier and cooler than it started out as. And that is the genius of Tassilo and Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
is taking
Mm-hmm.
something and making it like amazing.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
an anthem, really. I mean, even today when it comes on, like people still, and I think it's
it
never
still
gonna
comes
change.
on.
Like not as often, of course, but you know, whenever you do hear it, like everybody knows it. Like everybody knows this song.
Well, that's really good to hear, because when I was writing it, I just remember that part of the process, what I do rides the line of like, this can either be really cool or it's really cheesy, and I'm not really sure where it's gonna land on that spectrum. You know, sometimes it winds up being the cheesy, and thankfully and luckily,
That's the
this one,
country genre
yeah,
taking
right. You
control.
know, exactly. Like, well, I wasn't singing about cactus or cowboy hats, so thankfully
Yeah.
we avoided one on this.
Let us have a listen into, yeah, this techno anthem, really. Captain My Captain by Pen Pots featuring Cari Golden.
Set me free. Life teeming in the darkness, I am alien here. My vision is murky, and nothing is clear. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Let me see.
Yeah, Carrie, do you have any recommendations for aspiring singers that you can give along?
Educate yourself. I did. I went to school for it. It's in the music world, there's a saying that there are singers and then there are musicians. And I'm a musician. So and I can always tell with the producers that I work with, the ones that also have musical training, there's just a difference with a more an educated palate with people. It's important to be able to have the kind of vocabulary that you need to have a conversation with musicians about keys and, you know, where things are going and forms and all this stuff. It's just a lot to sort of understand there. That would be fundamental 101. The other thing is, if you want to work, be somebody that people want to work with. That's my mantra. It's what I tell. I'm a vocal coach as well, and it's what I tell my students. You know, show up, kind of knowing what you want to do. I'm pretty notorious in that I can take a really long time with a track, meaning like months and months and months, because I'm not one of those people that will force it. When I do that, mostly it just turns out, pardon my French, but kind of shitty. So usually when a track is ready to come through, it will. And sometimes that takes me a really long time. And I know that that can be frustrating for producers. But luckily, you know, I mean, when they do come, generally they're pretty decent. They're pretty good. So I've kind of stuck to my own feeling about that part of it. But and I also say that up front.
You say that it could take time.
Yes. Like
Yeah.
I can't just like pump it out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And songs are funny that way. Sometimes I'll hear a song and my voice will just start singing something and it's there. And sometimes it has to marinate for like a really, really long time. And sometimes it's me and my personal life just needing to be in the right headspace for something, because I don't want to. The bottom line is that a good song is going to be a good song no matter when it comes out. So it's not, you know. And the other thing,
But you have to feel it, right? You have to feel it.
yeah, and I would say don't focus on trying to make a hit out of anything. Just write good music, be a creative person. Don't focus on, I think there's a lot of focus now, especially I see it, it's like the visuals and social media and all this stuff. And all of that stuff is really, really important, and it's a good aspect of it. But the first thing, the most important thing is the music, obviously, right? And it feels like it should be an obvious thing. But it isn't for a lot of people,
I heard a saying the other day. I think I read it somewhere that if you wanna, live a fulfilled life, you shouldn't focus on the result. You should focus on the process and the whole way of getting there. That's what life is about, and not the results already. Like, you can't have the result in mind. Of course, you have to have, like, it's crucial to have visions and to have dreams, but it's even more important to live day by day and really put your life.
I mean, and honor your own process as well. I think, if you work a certain way, then that's the way that you work. If what I would say though is that, being creative and being an artist is different from being famous. They can intertwine at some point or another, but if your focus is on fame and not on your art, you're going to be a pretty shitty artist. You know what I mean? But if your focus is on making good art and really focusing on that and enjoying the process, like you said, the path will show itself eventually, and things will just happen. I mean, that's like I said, I've just sort of let things play out the way that they've played out, and have ridden a pretty interesting life that really hasn't always been focused. I'm not focused always on, being an electronic music artist. There's a lot of other things going on in my life, and this is one of them. And I think it's helped keep me really grounded and, just, hopefully a down to earth, accessible kind of a person. And that I think is also really helpful for your art.
I think also people can tell, like they can tell from talking to you or just working with you, if you are if you're authentic also,
I mean,
what you aim for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really lucky because a lot of the people I work with will come through LA, because a lot of times I've never even met some of the people that I work with, and then they'll come through LA on a DJ thing, and they'll stay. And I'm a chef as well, so it's like, come stay at my house and like, let's cook, let's get to know each other. It's a huge part of it for me, is really developing friendships with a lot of the people that I work with, because then there's not that veil. I remember there have been a couple of times where I'm like, oh my gosh, so and so wants to work with me, and just being like completely freaked out, you know what I mean, and nervous around people because they're famous or whatever. And then you just get into a room and start talking, and it's like, oh, okay, I can relax. Everybody's cool.
Yeah, we have a saying actually in Germany for this, saying every human boils water the same way. Pretty much.
Yeah. There's, everybody goes to the bathroom. What is it? Or like puts their pants on one leg at a time. It's like, that's the American part of it, saying.
Yeah. Maybe we can also squeeze in another track here that could fit.
Actually, it's funny. That's a good segue. The DJT Macioplex. I've got some great stories about that one.
Oh, please do. Yeah.
When I was asked to do the track for DJT, I was floored. It was actually Philip from Mandy who asked me to do that? Yeah, I believe so. And I just remember being like, oh my God, DJT, really? And now, of course, we're super close friends, and he stayed with me. And I remember I was actually at Sonar in Barcelona, hanging out with some folks from Mobley, and also with Joel Mole. And we were headed over to this beach party, and I just remember hearing for the first time the Macioplex track playing as we're walking, into this huge party with thousands of people. And I was just like, oh my God, it was
incredible.
It was mind-blowing. It was absolutely crazy. So
massive track. Let us have a listen right now into the City Life track by DJT featuring Cari Golden, and you brought us the Macioplex remix.
Yeah, here we go. my God. Well, it's still early in the morning for me. I'm drinking my like adaptogenic mushroom coffee so that my brain will fire on all cylinders at 9 a.m., you know?
Is it usually you get up on a later time, or is it very
I'm
early
up
for you right now?
early. I also teach
Yeah.
at high school. I
Mhm.
teach choir at a high school, so I get up. I'm on
Aw,
summer break, so I get up
amazing.
pretty early. Yeah. But it's weird for me to like talk about myself so much. It feels weird.
It's different. It's a different perspective because you don't get to do that very, very often
Yeah.
in day-to-day life, of course. And yeah, I have that with a lot of artists. They're like, it's a switch. It's like, oh, wait, I have to remember how this went, what we did, what
Yeah.
I said.
Right.
Yeah, it's a bit
Exactly.
different. Maybe, yeah, speaking about friends and also other artists and other DJs, other producers, did you have any mentors throughout your career?
My mentors have actually always been my teachers. My my first vocal coach for sure. She's probably not with us anymore. Her name was Eleanor Anup. My high school choir teachers, Chick and Robin Hansen, we're still friends to this day. Just people that set the example for work ethic and showing up to be prepared. And I would say a lot of most of the producers that I've worked with are mentors of mine, you know, being able to work really closely with people that know a lot more than you do has been a huge thing, you know, just trying to be a sponge and really learn. And then it's interesting what happens when you flip the script and all of a sudden you become the one that kind of knows more. And
Yeah.
I meant like I'm a vocal
When
coach
did that
now.
happen?
Well, you know, I'm a vocal coach now, so even some of my mentors are the kids that I teach because I'll see issues that I've had sort of mirrored in other people and realize, oh, okay, you know, I'm not the only one who's experienced this. It's kind of like it makes you feel less alone. You know, there are common things and common issues, and there are steps that you can take to overcome certain things, nervousness or just expanding your ability to listen properly or name things properly or learn or tackling a process a certain way. So there's kind of a lot of yin and yang where there are people who are my mentors who are like up here, and then there are people who are my mentors that are sort of like older versions of myself that I'm acknowledging again, I guess. So yeah, I would say it for me, it's been in mostly in the teaching process.
Would you say that every human being on earth can sing if they really wanted to?
Yes, of course.
Really? Okay.
Yes. I've been able to teach everybody that I've ever taught, and I've taught hundreds of people to sing. It's not always like amazing, but the harder thing to teach is rhythm, actually. Pitch is not so hard, you know, because yeah, well, I mean, if you can speak, you can sing. It's how you hear that you have to adjust. It's not the voice, it's the listening to be able to match and emulate. So a rhythm, it's so much harder because that's something you feel, and I don't know how you teach people to feel. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
Either you have it or you don't. Okay.
Definitely, you know, go with the heartbeat and start there and try to, you know, move it through that way.
One thing I also wanted to ask you is something you said in one of the interviews or the videos in the past was, let me find it. Yeah, stop treating your dreams as if they're not something you can accomplish.
Right.
Is that still something you would say today?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
They're not unachievable. That's the point of having them, is that if you can, it sounds so cheesy, but if you can dream it, you can do it. You know what I mean? When I say set your goals high, like make it something that feels like maybe I mean, I've far surpassed what I thought that I was going to do, but you know how like, you know, some girls would be like, I imagine this will be like this when I get married or whatever. I've never had that fantasy. And I don't really think I've even, I don't know.
To get married or?
No, like I've never had that fantasy to get married, but that's
Yeah.
like how some people that will be like their fantasy. And I've also
Right.
never had the fantasy of like, I'm gonna be like famous or whatever. That's
Mhm.
never been my goal. So for what my fantasy has been, as far as when I see, first of all, if I'm in a club and I actually hear a track of mine, that is so far surpassing any goal,
Mhm.
because the unexpected thing that happens is that these little nuggets of what I do here in my little home studio goes out into the world and becomes something completely different that has nothing to do with me. It takes on a totally different flavor, and it has kind of a life of its own, and they become these little microcosms, and it's like, so it's really humbling, when you go from creating something in this sort of like tightly controlled environment out into the world. So that has been sort of a dream, that the first time that it happened, I was like, oh, this can happen. Well, let me see if that can happen again, and then again and
Oh
again
yeah.
and again,
There you
to
go.
see if it
Yeah.
can go wider and can go bigger. So it's like, I'm not shooting for, I think that, I mean, I'm not going to build a rocket, right? But I'm going to try to create a really good song. And
Mhm.
if people want to listen to it, then that's all the better. So yes, of course, set your sights high and go for it,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah. Amazing. Do you have any track that you brought to us that would fit in here now, chasing your dreams?
I'm just setting all these up so perfectly. Yes. Things we might have said was a number one on Beatport. Um, it uh it's one of those things that, just like you, I got a message through SoundCloud from this totally unknown guy at the time named Renier Zonneveld. Um, and I didn't know.
Crazy to believe he was unknown, yes, but
It was
yeah.
totally unknown. This was in 2015 or 16. Such a lovely guy, an absolute musical genius. He's classically trained pianist. He's so fast. I've been in the studio with him, and he's astonishing to watch him work. He's just brilliant. And he sent me this track, and it's so simple. That's I think, genius of the entire track. And he is one of those people that's amazing at social media, which I think is, people who have really conquered that. Like, he is, huge, famous, flying private jets and all. It's like, I'm like, huh? Okay, good for you. Like, dream big, right?
There we are.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing about this track is that, it entered the Beatport, situation, and then it started climbing, and it actually went to number one on Beatport on my birthday.
What a gift.
I woke up and it was like, it went from number two to number one on my birthday. And I was like, I'm living in the Matrix. I don't know what's happening. Like, kind of
It's the
bending.
universe telling you did something right.
Totally. I was like, can I bend
Yeah.
spoons with my mind? Like, what's going on
Oh,
here? It was it was
that's awesome.
really something special. And then it sat there for a while. So that felt like a really incredible, yeah, accomplishment, I guess. But also and that's another one. If you extrapolate the vocal, that's a country song.
I will have to take a closer look here. Let us have a listen now to Things We Might Have Said by Renier Zonneveld featuring Cari Golden. Enjoy.
I'm in that moment. One foot on the edge, the other in the air. My balance, is it here or is it there? I want what I want. Between my heart and my head, I know it isn't fair. Oh, how I suffer. My body needs and my soul doesn't care. Always a showing. I could take it or leave my heart a deep red. All without knowing if I'm alive or if I'm dead. Body to body, do I make it real or leave it in my head? Which one is sweeter?
Cari, one thing I want to circle back on that you mentioned earlier is you told me that you are a chef also and that you're feeding the homeless. And I just find that so interesting and would love for you to tell us more about it. What does your everyday looks like, and how do you also combine being a chef, feeding the homeless, music?
It's
How
really
does it work?
interesting because I went back to I instead of having a midlife crisis, I had like a midlife awakening, and I went back to school to get another degree in culinary arts because I've always cooked for people. It's just, I don't know, it's a way of welcoming people and including people in your life and making them feel loved. And so it's always been a really major part of my life, and I just wanted to learn the technical aspects of that. So I went back to school. I spent 3 years showing up to school at 5:30 in the morning instead of coming home from the club at 5:30.
I was gonna say it
Right.
changed.
So, and I learned how to cook just really large scale stuff. It was in a huge kitchen, and we were supplying all the food for the school that I went to. And I graduated as COVID hit. So I was like, okay, I'm either gonna become a total wino and drink myself to death during COVID, or I can put my skills to good use. And a friend of mine has a daughter who was, working through this nonprofit that was helping feed people down on Skid Row. And so I kind of like butt in there and said, I want to help a little bit. And I just started doing sack lunches, and then eventually started making hotel pans of food going out the door, and just more and more people kept showing up. And so I work, it's called Love Kitchen. And then I work through another nonprofit called Love Movement. And they're the ones who really serve it most of the time. By the time the food gets out the door for me, like, I'm exhausted because it takes pretty much all week to source everything. And I have a lot of different partners that I get free, like beautiful produce directly from farms that's organic. And I process all of that and turn it into, really delicious homemade meals for people. And what I basically say, because, when I started doing that, people were like, are you still going to do music? And I was like, of course, it's all just creating. It's all just being it's me, it's all the same thing.
It's an energy release. Yeah.
Yeah.
Creative energy that you want to release. Yeah.
Food, or I'm making music, or I'm making a melody, or I'm spitting a verse, or whatever it is. It's all just kind of getting out what's in here and just putting it out into the world. And thankfully, helping people. I mean, I certainly, you look at all these chef shows and everybody's super stressed out, and, chefs are yelling at people, and, I'm not interested in that. I feel like that puts stress into the food. And I feel it's the same thing with the music. I can't watch singing competition shows. I can't watch cooking competition shows. I'm like, why would you want to put that energy on this thing? It's supposed to, sometimes you can create something good when you're under pressure, but that feels to me really not good for, I'm an energetic person, and it's like, I want to sit here and do it on my own time, the way I want, and I want to serve it with love. I want the music to go out with love. I'm not interested in, high pressure berating people. And
right. That's amazing.
I want to work in that kitchen. I want to work in my kitchen with the way I do it. So
I resonate so much with what you just said, and I feel like the way you see this, also, as we are creating in general, and we are human beings that want to put something out there. That's exactly how I see it too. Like, it doesn't matter if it's music or if it's cooking. Or I also train in a fitness studio chain that we have here. I give indoor cycling courses.
Wow.
And it's also my way of giving something back, because it's also something that I love to do, and I get to motivate people and cross their limits, and get above and beyond. And it's the same energy behind it. And that's,
it has to flow. If there's too much energy going one way, you get depleted. If there's too much energy coming the other way, you might turn into a jerk, right? People love you too much, and you start to believe the hype about yourself. Eek, I've seen that happen. I live in LA.
Lots, yeah. But yeah, especially, of course,
have that energy flowing. It's a way to keep, I'm a Libra. I was born in October. We're like always, it's the balance, the scales. So I'm always trying to find that balance and seek that balance. And that's, that's all a part of it, the cooking stuff. And also, just helping people. I don't feel like being able to eat should be a meritocracy. It's like there's plenty of food and just not enough people to be able to turn it around and get it to people who need it. That's been one of the more fun things too, is just, seeing a problem and trying to be a part of the solution of that problem. So yeah, that's been really fun. And it kind of slowly eclipsed everything. So finding that balance too of like, okay, like get back into the writing a little bit more and figure out how to, make everything balance out. So started writing some new stuff again and
things going to come out in the future. You also brought us a new track that we could tease a little bit. Do you want to spill the beans?
I'll spill the beans a little bit. So this is a friend of mine who I've known for a really long time. His name is Eric Kwan. He is a promoter here with 6 a.m. He is the boyfriend of one of my best friends, who's also in the scene. And he went to Berklee College of Music to learn production. And this is one of sort of the first things that he's done. And he sent it to me. I loved, there's something about this track that sort of reminds me of the Beverly Hills Cop theme music. Like,
yes, a little bit. Yes.
Sound in it that really, oh my God, this reminds me of like Axel F, right? That song. And I put it on while I was in the shower, just on my phone. I put it on and I just, all of a sudden, it came that quickly where I was just in the shower and I started spitting the verse and I was like, I got to just lay it down. And I was like, did I write this before? Because it came so quickly. Sometimes that happens where if a melody comes too fast, I'll kind of look back through stuff that I've done. I'm like, oh, I've written that melody before. I try to keep things simple. So sometimes you accidentally repeat without realizing it. But I hadn't. And I was like, wow, this is kind of this fun, hey, if your lover is like, I'm like a monogamous person and stuff, but it's like for those people that are like, hey, it's cool. You want to go out and like do whatever, just be safe, have at it. See you when you get home. Tell me all about it. Don't fall in love. We're fine. You know what I mean?
Berlin way.
I guess so. Yeah.
Berlin.
Yes, that I guess so. I might have some experience with that loosey goosey Berlin thing.
I mean, if you're as connected as you say with Berlin, of course you do have experience because this is the place to be.
Free as a bird, baby.
Free as a bird.
Yeah,
Let us have a listen. The track is called Feels Good by Eric Wan featuring Cari Golden. It's going to be released.
We don't know. We're looking.
Also about the future, is there any projects that you're looking forward to, any maybe gigs coming up, trips to Berlin especially?
I wish. I really want to make my way back there. I haven't been in so long, and but most of the time, when you go, it's like all my friends, when I first started and was going to Berlin, people weren't as famous, popular, and busy and traveling as they are now. So most of the people that I know have kind of shot trajectory up. So, most people, especially over the summer months, will be traveling. So my best bet would probably be to go over the holidays when it's freezing and everything is frozen in the layers of on the sidewalks there, and it's very treacherous. So maybe I'll get a chance to go back and visit and go to Watergate, my favorite, and see some people. I would love it, but yeah, it's things have gotten really expensive. So maybe if somebody is like, come over and come into the studio, maybe that'll be a reason.
Oh, yeah, that would be
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. So that would be nice. As far as new stuff coming out, I've got a new track coming with Audio Jack. I'm working on something with Aiden Lavelle and Dewey. I just had something come out with Newman I Love, which was just a remake actually of Missing by Everything But the Girl. And I mean, worship Tracy Thorn and her voice. So that was such a treat to try to do a little sound-alike thing there. So anyway, so there's some things on the docket. I've got some things in the queue that I have to like sit down and write for.
Do you have a studio in your house, or do you go somewhere when you record?
No, I do it all here from the comfort of my little chair and my microphone that's held up with rubber bands. And I've had the same setup from the very beginning. And
No way.
yeah, I'm about as tech savvy as a flea. So part of me taking such a long, healthy break was that I needed a new computer and I needed to learn new software. And just like social media, my mind is like, no, it doesn't want to do it. I'm analog to the bone. So it was a little bit of a process to get it back up and running again. My brain is just really resistant to that stuff. Like I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. And I just get really frustrated with all the technical stuff. I'm so envious of all the producers that I work with that are like, bing, bong, bing, bong, bong, here's a track.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, God.
We have one last track to feature in our podcast, and I'm also super honored to be able to showcase it here. We mentioned it briefly before. It's You and I with Fur Coat. Anything you'd like to add that you haven't mentioned yet that is worth mentioning?
It was really interesting when this track happened because it was a hook that had been roaming around in my head for a long, long time. And I knew that it was going to be one of those things because it's like, people are going to jump to the fact that it's, they're not going to realize maybe that it's an analogy and they're going to be like, it's about drugs. You know what I mean? And I kind of knew that it had to be a special label or a label that would be open to this. And so when the Fur Coat guys again popped into my SoundCloud DMs and, said, hey, we're doing this thing for Crosstown Rebels, I was like, okay, that would be a label, I feel, that would be open to something like this. And again, it was a song that took about 15 minutes to write.
Wow.
I think the first time I heard it, Damian Lazarus was playing at Avalon here in Los Angeles, and he started his set with just the a cappella of it, and I almost peed my pants. Like it was crazy. And then art department, I guess, teased it down in it was, I guess, in Tulum. It was for the BPM festival when it was still down there, and it just kind of like exploded in this really like overwhelming kind of a way that it was kind of actually almost uncomfortable because it sort of changed things. Like I'd had other successful tracks, but this track really kind of like flipped it and became its own little beast. And it's just one of those things again that's just had this really long tail of success and is going and going and going, which just trips me out. It really is crazy, but yeah. So anyway, so that's and those guys too. I know that they're not together anymore, but just the nicest guys in the world to work with. So, and it's just really fun to be a part of somebody's, success too. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Through the roof, and it's like, great guys, go be huge and successful.
Would you like to announce this track for our podcast?
This is You and I for Coat and Cari Golden. It's on Crosstown Rebels, 2012 or something. It's old, but here it is.
Old but gold.
Just like me.
Don't wanna go too far. Don't wanna regret it. Just one hit. You got me to the untrained eye. We look about the same, don't we, you and I am so slick. I'll leave you wanting more and more and more. You and I, we alike. Cocaine and ketamine, cocaine and ketamine. You and I, we alike. Cocaine and ketamine, cocaine and ketamine. Just a little bit, come on, baby. Just a little bit.
Cari, we're almost at the end of this podcast, and one of the things I do with every guest that I have on the show is play a little game, and it's a game that my grandma used to play with me. In German, it's called Himmel oder Hölle, heaven or hell.
Oh,
You have to pick very quickly between two options.
oh, big.
More likely without thinking, just like whatever comes up, you just pick. Would you be open to play that with
Do
me?
it.
Let's do it.
Himmel oder Hölle?
Question number 1. Would you rather lose the ability to read or lose the ability to speak?
Read.
Would you rather always be 10 minutes late or always be 20 minutes early?
Early.
I figured you would say that.
I was like 8:59. I'm in this
Yes.
mood.
Would you rather have all traffic lights you approach be green or never have to stand in line again?
Never have to stand in line.
Would you rather be the only one drunk at a party or the only one sober?
Oh, that is hard.
Is it?
I would rather be the only one drunk. At least I'd be having fun.
It's awesome. Would you rather live on the beach or in a cabin in the woods? I mean,
That's not fair, and I can't answer that because I want both, and I'd like to live in a cabin on the beach that backs up to the woods.
okay. Well,
Out in
yeah,
California, so
you can have it all.
yeah, God, that's tough. Those are not fair questions, Liz.
That's the point of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last one,
Okay.
just one more. Would you rather lose all your money and valuables or lose all the pictures you've ever taken?
Money, who cares about money? You can always get money back. You can always get money. I don't care anything about money. I never have. Never
Yeah.
will. That was easy.
Cari, yeah, I think it's almost time to wrap it up. I don't want to end it. It's been amazing. It's been an absolute honor. I love working with you. It was
Dude, you're
so
so fun.
easy, smooth, fun.
Say hi anytime, Liz.
Please, if you're ever in Berlin, let's hit it
And
off.
also, like I said, if you make your way to LA, I have a house and I have a spare bedroom. You're more than welcome anytime. As long as you promise to like do some personal training for me, I'll trade you because I need to get back in
Hey,
the
that's
groove.
perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, we're all set up.
It's
Sounds
all
amazing.
good. Yeah, and I live in a little far away from the beach, but I'm 15 minutes from Hollywood, so invitation's open. I know, weird, right? Like you just met me
Incredible.
2 seconds ago, and you're like, this crazy person's invited me to her house in LA.
The funny thing is, I'm the same way, actually. I'm very open in the same direction, and I think you gotta be. You gotta be. It's way more fun living life this way.
100%, right?
Thank you so much once
Thank
again,
you.
and speak to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.